We're back with more Aphex Twin, and this time we're doing We Are the Music Makers. This track is super cool. Hopefully you enjoy it. Yeah, I know y'all like the Aphex Twin breakdown, so here we go. Now, before we get into it, Patreon news. I know this might be getting annoying at this point that I keep bringing up Patreon, but the thing is I really don't make much money at all on YouTube. It's like 10, 11 bucks a month. So Patreon is super helpful, and you can get a lot of cool stuff there. I added some new tiers, so you can enter in for just $1 a month, up to $65 a month. It just depends. There's a lot of cool stuff. You can get me to mix your tracks for you. You can get me to give you private lessons, whether that's 20 minutes, which is only $13 a month, where we can get on Zoom and talk about whatever you want music-wise. We can also do a 60-minute lesson where we, again, talk about whatever you want music-wise, mixing, production, arrangement, whatever. Yeah, and you can also, like I said, get track feedbacks, get some really cool samples I record in Berlin, Detroit, Austin, Ann Arbor, Toledo. Cool stuff. So again, check that out. I really appreciate it if you are able to do something with Patreon. And if not, go ahead and post this video in like Reddit and Facebook groups, wherever people are needing this sort of material, because maybe some of those people can do Patreon. And yeah, so just if you could help me spread the word. If you can't afford to do any Patreon stuff, just tell some friends, do something. That'd be really appreciated. It all goes a long way. But cool. All right, here we go. Aphex Twin, We Are the Music Makers.
We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams.
Okay, so right away we have a 2-bar bass line that you're gonna hear here. Boom, 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 boom. I also hear it could be part of the bassline synth. I'm not sure, but it could also be a different synth. It sounds like some sort of polyrhythm, like beep, 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 beep. So I have those two things going on. Meanwhile, we have this main drum loop. I put high because right now it appears to be high pass. We're just getting a lot of the high end of it. And we're just going to have this repeat 4 times. And on the 6th bar, we're going to have this sample, We Are the Music Makers, come in.
We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams.
This could just be one long sample. I'm not sure. Someone comment below. I'm sure someone knows where the sample's from, so if you want to do that, that'd be cool. Otherwise, this could be 2 samples. Like, this could be like audio from 2 recordings chopped like that, where you press one.
We are the music makers,
and then you press the second one.
and we are the dreamers of dreams.
I have a feeling it's 1 sample, but I'm not sure. But it doesn't really matter for the sake of this. We have a sample play, and now 8 bars have passed. And now to help keep the track moving, we're going to drop the high pass and have the full-on drums coming in. And then yeah, for drums, I have a kick, a snare, like an open like slash, like that. I can't really do it. And then it sounds like a 16th note hat sort of thing. Something like that. And so we're just going to groove on this for a while. This song to me it kind of feels like a jam in a way because of how it's structured, but we'll get more into that. But okay, so eventually we're going to start to bring in some new melodic elements. So we're just grooving for a while on this bass line until something else happens, and we'll see what that is. let's talk for a second. So we've had other songs where there's very clear A sections, very clear B sections. I'm pretty sure, at least, we must have at this point, where you'll have, yeah, I mean, definitely we have, where you'll have a bunch of stuff happening, and then all at once everything suddenly changes, or at least there's like a very dramatic change to signify like, oh, here's a new section. Versus with this track here, I feel like we're really just sitting on this groove for a while, and then slowly but surely we start to like embellish the groove, or just kind of get deeper into it by having this little, I called it funk because of the rhythm of it. Beep, 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 beep. I feel like with maybe some funk songs, you'll hear people like playing a guitar kind of like that, like something like that. So that's why I thought of it as funk. And then we have this, I think it's a 1-bar melody. It makes me think of like a fun little factory or something, so that's why I called it Fun Factory. And then we have this do 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 do, which really adds some like breath and atmosphere, I feel, to the beat. But yeah, and so it's this kind of build up that at least partially is giving me this sort of like improv-y jam feeling, especially later on in the track. There's going to be like a little solo sort of moment later. But okay, so we're really taking our time with this one. And as we keep going on, so here's the thing. I'm not 100% sure on this. I'm sure one of y'all know, but I feel like most likely this if I'm guessing, it could have been made on like a desk or something where Aphex already had all of the tracks like made and all the loops made, and then it's just using like some piece of hardware to like bring them in and out whenever it's desired. And basically that's, what am I trying to say here? Like, to help keep interest in the track, like we've talked about so many times, you're often going to have just a different combinations of the things that are here. So for example, here we have yellow, green, let's see, seafoam, whatever, all these colors. And right now, like all of these are playing at the same time, but here everything's playing except for these two. And then later on, there might be a point where one of these two is playing, but the rest aren't playing, for example. So by having these different combinations, you're getting like variation for the listener. Yeah. And so sometimes you have this happening in very clear chunks, like 8 bars, you're hearing these things. And then 8 bars, you're hearing, like you might have a track that looks more like, let's say like you have this 8 bars. Then you'll have, let's see, then you'll have this 8 bars. All right, this 8 bars. Then you'll go back to these 8 bars. Then, for example, if I color coded it, I'm going to undo all of this, by the way. So you might have your A section, your B section, A section, B section. Then you might have your C section, which is going to be different. Or whatever, Some tracks are very clean like that. But in this example, are we good? But in this example, it's more just like we're kind of just going through, dropping things out, bringing things in at a more... I feel like a more like, let's like improv-y type of manner, or at least improv-y and a less super tight and concise. Like when this funk thing starts, for example, like it's starting in at bar 18, which is already not like the cleanest, but at least compared to some other stuff. But okay, so we're gonna keep going, and then eventually we're just gonna drop out the bassline polyrhythm. I know we're going to ignore this for now. We're going to drop out the bass line. And at this point now we have the Fun Factory, the 2-note, and the funk playing without the bass line, which you've never had before. So this is like a new experience for the listener. Now we've never had the Fun Factory and the 2-note thing playing at the same time with just those two in the drums. This is a cool way to keep interest. We have just like a variation of the drum loop. So everything's basically staying the same, so the drums are giving us a little fill, which is cool. And it kind of gives some of that, again, like if you're watching like a band jamming for a while, there might be a moment where the drummer does something kind of cool and goes back into the groove, something like that, for example. Real quick. So like I said earlier, we're talking about having different combinations of things. So eventually after we're jamming on this for a while, we're going to bring that funk synth back, but now it's playing a more like it's playing, instead of just a one note situation, it's playing a different melody. And so that's a new sensation for our ears to listen to. It's very nice and catchy too, which I like. And so that plays for 8 bars, and then eventually, or yeah, 8 bars, right? Yep. And then eventually we're going to have a little pause. And it's really easy to hear the 2-note and the fun factory here. Cool thing just to note, I mean, everyone's different, everyone has their own preferences, but I like this little 2-bar break because we're going to have 2 bars and then go back into it. Then 2 bars again, then the bass line comes in. I like, and then it rises into, it's not like an immediate addition in. It's just kind of cool. And I mean, I might just be listening to the wrong music. I don't know, but at least with a lot of the stuff, yeah, maybe there are people out there. I mean, there's probably people out there still making electronic music like this. I feel stupid. Comment below if you have some recommendations. But for what, I don't listen to that much music, I feel, compared to most musicians. So whatever. I just like how there's a 2-bar thing here and then a 2-bar transition here, because at least with a lot of like club techno I listen to, it seems more rare, at least to me, at least a lot of most stuff that I hear that's played out, to have stuff like that. I feel like it's usually sticking to 8 bars, 4 bars, whatever, 16 bars. So it's cool just to have that. I mean, this isn't like a club techno track, but you could put this in a club techno track, like this sort of 2-bar transition if you wanted to. And I've kind of, yeah, I think it's fun to do stuff like that. So I don't know, it's cool to note. But okay, now we're going to bring in a new bass line. But so much is staying the same here. In the sense that we're just going to start like grooving on this bass line with drums again, which we kind of did at the beginning, but now the bass line's going to be a little bit different.
We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams.
Okay, real quick. So you can see we have the change of the bass line. Now the bass line's kind of mimicking the fun factor a little bit more. It's kind of following its lead. And now we're going to have the bass line playing by itself for a while, which again, in case you're wondering, Alex, what's the point? You're just saying what the track is doing. But the point is that if you're unsure of like how to do arrangement, we're just talking through the arrangement of this track. And so I'm just showing how, hey, like maybe all you have to do is change up your bass line at one point. And so yeah, you could have like a track where at the beginning you have a bass line that's doing its thing. It's really cool. Then you bring in another melodic element that has a different rhythm than the bass, and then later on in the track you could have the bass that you originally made start to match the rhythm of the new piece, and that could be your bass. Excuse me, for like a second section. So that's just like a thing you can try if you're looking for an idea of like what's a cool move to do. Maybe that's a cool move to do. Worked for Aphex Twin here, so maybe it'll work for you. Maybe not. Find out next time on. Here we go. Okay, so now we're gonna shift back to the first bass line soon. And I'm going to kind of scuttle through this a bit. I'm just going to let this play a lot because basically we're going to have some drum variation and let the bass line play out. It's going to pause sometimes, which again gives it kind of this like live feel. We're going to have another percussive element come in just once in a while. But yeah, nothing too crazy and different than what I've already said before. So let's just listen to that. Also, check this snare out. There's going to be a cool like phaser on it, or flanger, I think. Like, don't y'all feel that? Like, I feel like we're just having a conversation between the drums and the bass line right now. Like, it's kind of just like a jam session. It's pretty cool. Yeah. So I don't know. That's interesting. It might be cool. Yeah, to have. Yeah, as I'm thinking, because I'm tending to make club music right now, mostly. Maybe it'd be fun to try and incorporate this sort of an idea into a track. So I lost track. um, where were we? Okay. Yeah, I mean, basically, then for the rest of the track, we're gonna start that swell again, but now we're gonna have the swell with the thick bass line because we only just introduced the thick bass line for a little bit here. Like it just got started, and then we're immediately doing a breakdown. So now we're gonna do the swell again with the thick bass line. And then we're eventually going to drop that out again to get kind of like a cool down once again. And note this like dissonant note here. So real quick, sorry, I know I got sidetracked for a second. So basically, we have the track starting. There's a cool bass line. There's a cool polyrhythm thing. There's drums going on. We're grooving for a bit. We're going to add the fun factory. We're going to add the two note. We're going to add the funk. We're going to keep going for a bit. We're going to drop out the bass. So now we're having a cool down session. Drums are going. Drums are starting to be improvised a little bit, messed around a little bit. Then we're eventually bringing in a different melody to keep it interesting, but we're still grooving on the fun factory. Eventually, we're going to start to get bored of this, so why not change up the bass line to match the fun factory? So now we're going to groove on the bass line again, kind of like we did at the beginning, and then we're going to groove on that, shift back to the first bass line, and now we're going to do the first bass line with more little drum improvs. I think we haven't really had the bass line with little drum improvs yet. So now we're having like a nice conversation between bass line and drums, which is kind of a newer feature. I mean, we may have gotten we had some drum variation here, but without the bass. So it's kind of cool here how here's like an example of how you can have the same elements like bass line drums that you have here. Basically bass line drums, because this thing is pretty, I don't even know if you can really hear it here. But with this variation, that probably helps you extend it out a little bit. And I don't know, it's cool. And then you have the addition of an extra drum. We're going to keep going. Bass line 2, thick bass line. And now we're going to go to a new part. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So in this next section here, you're going to notice how this funk synth thing really, to me, it really starts to sound kind of like we're entering like solo territory, which again is so common with like a jam where you're grooving, then someone goes up and takes a solo for a bit. So I feel like this is kind of like a cool version of that. And then there's also this weird like dissonant note here, but okay, let's keep going. Don't you hear that? I don't know what the technical definition for dissonant is, but my understanding of dissonant is like if you have a beautiful chord like do 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 do, or that was not a chord, that was like a scale. If you have like a piano, oh my goodness, where's anything? Operator. Here we go. You know, if you have a nice little chord, like here's a major chord. It sounds good. Those all just like sound nice together. Versus this. There seems to be a little like more friction between the notes. Sounds dissonant to me. It like literally makes my body like clench up a little bit versus it just seems a little bit more clear. So I don't know. Dissonant. So this note sounds dissonant. It's very like it's causing some anxiety for me.
We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams.
Boom, it ends with drums. So, okay. Let's touch on this section again. So like I said, I feel like this funk thing gives you a kind of a live feel. Especially over here. And then at this point it sounds like this part here, which is newer for this, like it only appears at this point in the song. It's combined with this one. Right here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what's happening. Which is it's really nice to have beautiful like harmonies like that. Really cool. But yeah, what else can I say? I mean, we're talking about arrangement, right? I mean, like we only had this funky part, or this, we'll say funk melody too, I guess. I think this is technically a melody. I don't know. But we're gonna call this melody 2, and then does a melody have to have more than one note? I don't know. But so that's funk melody 2, and yeah, someone check that. Someone, it's like the second, like this is a thing that this funk thing is doing. This is like an idea. This is like idea 2. So, if we want to be a little more, just to make sure I'm not saying stuff that's totally wrong, funk idea 2, idea 1. Then basically a funk idea 2 happening at this point in the track with no bass line, with the fun factory in the 2 note. By the time it comes back, there's once again no bass line. But at one point the drums drop out. So this is the, let's see. So these are basically the same at this point, but then you have the drums drop out. So our first time hearing funk idea 2 with no drums. You can see there's no drums here, versus here there are drums. And now we're going to get a new drum idea, which is basically like, you kind of think of it like as long drum fill or just drum variation. So this is kind of nice because as we're still going on Funk Idea 2, we're having a new drum idea, and I feel like it's not very fluid, the drum idea, in the sense that it feels kind of like a long fill to me. So then it's really refreshing when the drums come back in, and then you'll notice the funk synth changes to go kind of back to like idea 1. Now it's going to bring in like an idea 3. But it's nice because like you have these like hesitant drums happening. Not really hesitant, but it's not like a nice super simple groove, or it's not as straightforward compared to this one in my opinion. And so once you have the straightforward groove come back, you have the funk synth like going on a cruise to improv-y town. At least it feels like that a little bit. And it's just a really nice effect to do. So that's another idea you could grab. You could maybe at one point in your track have your drums do something where if you have like really fluid drums where they're moving in a nice fluid motion, doing let's see, just like how do I put this? It's like a more straightforward groove. You could then have a section where maybe they're hesitating for a bit, and then you can release, go back into the smooth groove, and then like have a lead change up when you go into that release. Like that's kind of a cool, it almost feels, to me, it feels kind of like plugging a drain, letting the water build up a bit, and then pulling the plug and it just rushes out. It's kind of a cool idea, but okay. That's about it. I think we're done here. Hopefully you got some ideas from this track. But basically, like I said, how it's arranged, to me, this feels kind of like a jam where you essentially have a consistent drum beat, 2 bass lines, and then improvising with a few leads like these funk ideas, and then using the fun factor in the 2 note to like really help establish a nice groove along with the bass line. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully you got something from this. yeah. If you did, tell a friend. If you want to get some bonus material, like if you want to, or rather, if you want to get lessons from myself, or if you want to get some samples, I have some really cool samples I recorded, or track feedback, you can follow the Patreon. That's really appreciated. I really don't make much money at all from YouTube, so Patreon is really great. And yeah, check it out. And you can do a 20-minute phone conversation with me or a Zoom conversation. And you can also do a full hour if you'd like. There's a whole lot of options. We can break down a track you want to break down. We can talk about arrangement. We can talk about mixing, production, whatever. So, okay, hope you learned something. And oh, if you don't want to do Patreon or something, but you want to find a way to like spread the word or help me out, then share this video with a friend. Share it in Reddit forums. Share it anywhere you can, Facebook groups, whatever. Share these videos. It really helps me because then other people come and maybe they'll be able to do Patreon. So cool. Thank y'all so much. Have a good day. Adios.